Okay, what's good, everybody? I am your guy, Dollar Bill Skull, host of the Back and Forth Show, and I just want to talk a little something about a topic that's dear to my heart. As you can see on the screen, I have an image of a turntable with, in the middle, golden hip hop, the golden era. Now, the reason why a lot of us from my generation feels like that was such a golden era because it was a golden time in life. A lot of us were young in our 20s, and by the 90s came around, we was in our 20s. We spent our teen years in the 80s. So we got to see the birth of hip hop. We got to see, at least when it finally hit our cities. We seen it take over the movie theaters. We seen it take over the TV shows. I got exposed to real hip hop. Now I'm not saying that hip hop I was exposed to earlier, like The Message, Grandmaster Flash, Curtis Blow. That was real hip hop too. But in 1985, I was exposed to other rap music that I've never heard by way of a college station. And I'm here in recent years, I'm finding out that there was a lot of cities across the nation that had college stations playing underground hip hop in the wee hours of the night. The station I grew up on was a station called 88.5 WHPK in Chicago in Hyde Park. And they had a show called The Rap Show that would come on every Friday night at midnight till 3 in the morning. And I discovered this during the summertime, so I had plenty of nights to stay up to do this. And then, of course, they expanded to Wednesday shows, Saturday shows, but the glory part of it was the initial Friday night shows, and that right there opened up another side of hip hop to me because I had never heard of Heavy D and the Boys, Big Daddy Kane, the Juice Crew, MC Shan, LL Cool J. These when I first got exposed to these guys, they were brand new in the industry. And it was just something about that era. What I miss about the early days of hip hop was the newness of it all. Okay, because here it is, right at 1980, excuse me, rap music is finally making its reaches on the radio. We got the Sugar Hill Gang that we get later on. We get Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. We get African Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force. We getting all these new rap music, these new rap songs from these new rap acts coming into the radio sphere, and it really made radio sound totally different. And the newness about it was the fact that it was new to all of us. Then at that time, here comes MTV in 1981, BET in 1980. So now here's the emergence of music video, which is also another new thing. And the thing about that was rappers who were making music videos in the early 80s had no problem doing it. Whereas a lot of old school acts, whether it be funk, R&B, even rock, a lot of them couldn't make the transition. But hip hop made the transition into music video, and it was just a beautiful thing. So now I got to finally see how Rakim looks. Now I get to finally see how LL looks on camera. I mean, it was just a beautiful, the newness of it all right? And that's the reason why it was such a golden era, because it felt so new. It was so, I mean, it was like every week, here comes a new act. Here comes MC Light. Here comes Salt and Pepper. Here comes EPMD. I mean, as the years went on, hip hop steady kept growing. So that era, for me, the hip hop era, that the golden era for me personally, excuse me, is 1985 to 1995. That 10-year window, we pretty much got everything that helped develop hip hop to what it is today in 2024. There was this era of just experimentation, trying new things. You had your mainstream rappers that was able to cross over, get the popular TV shows. And then there were things. See, the thing about these rappers today, they don't know how good the golden era rappers had it. Now these rappers have to deal with streaming, and the streaming platforms, they don't pay nothing. Back in the golden era, you were selling cassettes, CDs, and vinyl. Even things like cassette singles and CD singles. You had platforms like Rap City, Your MTV Raps, Pump It Up, The Box. All right. These things helped push the culture forward. Okay. There was a lot of things that was going on at that time that just kept things going. Like right now, the kids that's making rap music now, they don't get it. They're just about being famous and getting money. Back in the days, we had our rappers telling us that crack was whack. All right. Night of the Living Bassheads was telling you they were shaming crack junkies and drug dealers. All right. My black history teachers back in that era and through the 90s were Public Enemy, Boogie Down Production, X Clan, Brand Nubian, okay? Um, Poor Righteous Teachers. These were, I learned more about black history listening to rap music than I've ever learned sitting in the classroom. And that's straight up. I remember coming back to school 88, that 88, 89, junior to senior year. And here it is. I just got through listening to all this Public Enemy. I come back to school, first day of school. There's a white guy talking about some, hi, I'm Mr. So-and-so, so-and-so, and I'm your African-American studies teacher. And I'm saying to myself, no, the hell you're not. And I walked out of that class and never came back. I failed that course, of course, but it was because I didn't feel comfortable with this white guy teaching me about part of my roots. I'll say this again. I learned more about Black American history by way of Public Enemy, Brand Nubian, Boogie Down Production, all right, Poor Righteous Teacher, X Clan. I learned more through those records than I've ever learned sitting in someone's classroom. That's what the golden era was. They got together and made songs like We're All in the Same Gang to counter gang violence in the streets, not just out in the West Coast, but gang violence all over the country. It's just that West Coast gang banging and gang violence hit the mainstream with movies like Colors, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. That brought gang violence, West Coast gang violence, to the mainstream. But the idea of coming together with some of the top rappers in the music industry from that part of the coast was phenomenal because we had never seen anything like that. I mean, we seen this is what I'm saying. In so many words, we don't have rappers coming together today to make a self-destruction. We're all in the same gang. All right. Heal yourself. Human education against lies. Our rappers from that golden era, they cared about the listener. They cared about the record buyer. They cared about the people who was consuming their music. So they were very conscious of what they were saying. A conscious rap wasn't just about being Afrocentric. It was also being aware of what you're saying on your records. That's why I say these rappers were conscious of what they were saying. Now, this isn't a slight against the West Coast, but prior to the West Coast, there was no women being called bees and hoes. Okay. A lot of the East Coast rappers, Philadelphia, Jersey, New York, they did not address address women in those in that kind of way. So when MC Light here recently said that when she first heard a rapper on a song call a woman the B word, she couldn't believe what she was hearing. She didn't hear that from LL, Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane, MC Shan, Boogie Down Productions. These rappers were talking about real issues that brought America's crap to the forefront in the black communities. The golden era of hip hop even gave us good beef, gave us good rap beefs. They kept everything on wax. It was competitive, and no one ended up getting shot. Nowadays, you come out with a rap song, you're talking about somebody, 2 to 3 days later, you might die. Because these kids nowadays, they're very emotional and they don't know how to handle uh, being talked about. They don't know how to handle beef. They just know that the best way to handle it is to go out and kill that brother. That's the reason why we had songs like Self Destruction, because it was about uniting the black community. There's no need to kill another black man. There's no need for this. All right. And if you notice, rappers today, they don't get together and make these kind of songs. Has anyone ever noticed now that when rappers and even R&B acts, when they come into the industry, they're solo acts? There's no more group acts anymore. Come on, man. Growing up in the days, I mean, LL was like the first, um, outside of Curtis Blow, was like one of the biggest mainstream rappers who was a solo act. Back in the days, it was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, African Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force, the Fat Boys, Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, Salt and Pepper. I mean, these were rap groups, and the industry was sprinkled with, solo acts like MC Lights, Yo Yo, LL Cool J. You see what I'm saying? But mainly it was groups. Now everyone's coming to the game because they don't want to deal with anybody else's creativity, creative differences. Everyone's pretty much out for themselves. Every new kid that I see coming to this game, they don't make it long because they're not making music to last long. They're making music for the moment. They're making music because it's a vibe right now. But no one's making music that could last through the decades. That's the reason why we call it the golden era of hip hop, because that music is still beautiful today. Look at the time. Look at what everything that we had at our disposal. Even the mainstream started catering to hip hop. So by the time the 90s came around, our TV shows were hip hop based. The Fresh Prince of Bel Air, In the House, Martin, Living Single, New York Undercover. These shows were hip hop based. And when you watch New York Undercover, I suggest anyone to go back and watch New York Undercover. That show covered hip hop music, hip hop fashion. They had live entertainment, some of the hottest acts of that era, while at the same time solving a case within that 60-minute run. Okay, you had, just the time. Our movies were catered to hip hop. New Jack City, Juice, again, Menace to Society, New Jack City, Boys in the Hood, Sunset Park, Boomerang. Our movies and movie soundtracks were totally hip hop based. They were catering to the hip hop kids at that time. So that's the reason why the 90s is such a beautiful decade, just like the 80s. The 90s was really turning it up. The 90s was really turning up. They had the conscious movement, the Back to Africa movement. They had kids being influenced to go to college, go to the HBCUs. They were waking their people up at that time. All right. Even when NWA came out in the late 80s and they had songs like F the Police, that song was speaking to all the young black men who were dealing with police and police brutality in our communities. It was like, we thought it, but they said it. You feel me? Public Enemy, Night of the Living Bassheads. Just listen at these titles I'm saying to you. Rappers at that time in the 80s and the 90s gave a damn about who was listening to their lyrics, because they did not want to mess up the minds of the youth who was listening to these songs. Yeah, we still had the party rap, but we also had rap music that was able to stop and make you think. Brand Nubian had a song called Wake Up. All right. They had a song called Slow Down, which is about women on crack. Yo, you need to slow down. You feel me? It was that era, man. It was that Back to Africa. A lot of the rappers were getting away from the dookie chains and putting on the gold medallions. Even other forms of media, magazines like Right On, Black Beat, Source, Ebony, Jet, they were catering more and more to the hip hop culture. That's the reason why hip hop was so beautiful back then, because the artist was able to really make their rounds through all the outlets and platforms. Now everything is pretty much online. Streaming services is just it's just whack. But back in the era, you can go on Arsenio Hall. All right. One thing about Arsenio Hall was he catered to hip hop culture. That's the reason why he became to black people the king of late night, not Johnny Carson, not Johnny Carson. Excuse me. It was Arsenio Hall for us. How do you think Busta Rhymes got to be the artist that he is today? All right. Busta Rhymes he featured a verse on a song called The Scenario by a Tribe Called Quest. His verse was that standout verse. His verse was really the dopest verse on it. All of them were dope, but his stood out. When they got to the Arsenio Hall show and they performed that, there were music executives watching that show. They was like, okay, this guy got the energy, he got the rhymes. Let's put this guy on. That's how come Busta Rhymes was able to flourish because of outlets like the Arsenio Hall show, who catered to hip hop. Even the fashion was Carl Kanai, Damaged, Used, Cross Color. I mean, everything was catered and set up to appease the hip hop generation at that time. Coming from the late 80s to now the 90s really turned everything up. We got a chance to see the way people dressed. We got a chance to see experience other people's reality by way of their music. Even again through the movies, Boys in the Hood took us right to South Central LA. All right. Juice took us right to New York. New Jack City took us right to New York. You had, I mean, everything was just off the soundtracks. And again, let's not forget the TV shows again. You not only had sitcoms, but you had music platforms like Yo MTV Raps, Rap City, Pump It Up with D Barnes, The Box. Remember The Box? And then, of course, regional shows like out in New York, they had a Video Music Box headed up by Ralph McDaniels. All right. And then we had the nerve as a culture to merge and marry hip hop and R&B. So now here's another genre of music. And here comes Mary J. Blige. Okay. That golden era is nothing to play with. A lot of cats now, these young kids, they come out, they've only just came out their mother's womb 10 minutes ago. And now they got the nerve to look down and disrespect to go, oh, that, oh, shit, you know what I'm saying? They don't know what they were. Man, come on, man. You had to be there. And I'm so thankful to the Most High that I was able to live through and experience that era because it meant a lot to us. That's the reason why a lot of us old heads from that era love and respect us so much. All right. Even now, you got, and I'm not tripping on anyone who's getting their money, but money isn't always everything. Our female MCs back then carried themselves with so much class. Salt and Pepper, Queen Latifah, Moni Love, MC Lights, Roxanne Shante, Antoinette, Sweet Tea, Sparky D. I mean, our female MCs were about class, man. They didn't have to show their behind. They didn't have to show their cleavage. They didn't have to walk around half dressed. They commanded respect. When Latifah came out with UNITY and asked, who you calling a bitch? That wasn't just a hook. That was her answer to where rap was going at that time. Because now, again, I'm not tripping on the West Coast, but the West Coast brought in so much disrespect to our women, calling them bitches and hoes and put my egg in your mouth. You know, it was things like that. So when Latifah asked, who you calling a bitch? She stood up for all women and gave them a voice like, yo, chill. You don't come at us like this. Salt and Pepper, again, three beautiful sisters who commanded and demanded respect. And they ended up getting that. That's the reason why you didn't hear anyone disrespecting those women in the game. All right. Luke Records come in, Two Live Crew come in. They're legends in this industry, but they brought a lot of debauchery to the game. No lie. Big booty hoes, all stuff like that. And hey, we want some, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they brought a lot of debauchery to the game by way of their music. They made amazing and no lie, some of the kids in our generation ate it up. They bought the tapes, they went to the concerts. But me personally, I was with what I consider real hip hop, boom bap, Gangstar, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, Brand Nubian. All right. Underground acts like the Skinny Boys, Rough House Survivors, the Youngsters. Okay. Shouts out to MC Hammer for taking rap somewhere that it had never really been before. He took it to another level of mainstream that people like Run DMC couldn't do, LL couldn't do. Yeah, in the heat of the moment, we clown Hammer, but looking back now, he was an ambassador for this culture, and he took it somewhere. He was the one that kind of opened up the doors for rappers to have endorsements. Because I remember at a time where it was like all the hardcore, boom bap rappers was like dissing. Yo, even EPMD said keep the crossover. I mean, it was like this thing that they didn't want to cross over. They didn't want to mix and mingle with R&B. Hammer embraced all of that. And by the 90s, you see Sprite commercials with Grand Puba. You know what I'm saying? Pete Rock and CL, KRS-One and MC Shan. You start to see the transition. They were opening up to this now. Okay, there's more money. And then you had the other acts from the golden era that went into another lane. I'm so proud of Will Smith, Ice Cube, LL, Queen Latifah. They're like they're like, for me, the standouts. They're the ones who saw Hollywood in their foresight way back then. They knew what was happening. They knew, hey, this rap thing is only going to go so far. Let me see what's up with this Hollywood movie stuff. And it worked out for them. It worked out for them. It really did. Shouts out to MC Light. I mean, a lot of them have transitioned into other bigger and better things, all because of the golden era. None of them compromised their style. None of them sold out just for $1. When they said in the 90s, keep it real, they kept it real. Yeah, you had a lot of acts that came and did whatever they could do for $1. But the real ones, they never compromised their style. They was able to say no at a time when they probably really could have needed that money, but they did not compromise or sell their souls. So that golden era of hip hop means a lot. Things kind of went sour when the rap beefs became over the top with the so-called East Coast, West Coast beef. All right. We've seen rappers getting killed because of beef. That was something new to the culture. That was something new that had never been introduced because, again, growing up listening to Shan and KRS-One, listening to LL and Mo D, listening to Shantae and all the other rappers. Hold on a second. Listening to all the other rappers who were in and out of beef, they still kept it 100. They didn't have to go out and hurt each other. So when they ran up on each other, bump into each other outside of the beef, it was still all love. Somehow the East Coast, West Coast thing, they say it started with this Source Awards 1995. And that was a very tense show. It had a lot of animosity in the air. The South was just finally getting their footing, even though the South has been into the rap industry, excuse me, since like 2 Live Crew and the Ghetto Boys. The Ghetto Boys was late 80s. They didn't really cross over until they released My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me. But rap beef was not the way it is now. All right. And then rap is morphed into gangster rap, trap rap, drill rap. It's just not the same. Yeah, I got a lot of love for T.I. and them and Lil Flip and them. Um, Most definitely shouts out to Master P and No Limit because you have people like Master P and No Limit coming out and showing you that this independent thing is the way to go. So he opened up the floodgate. So shouts out to him. Shouts out to Cash Money. Those guys showed us that you can do this without dealing with those people in the industry. Eventually, excuse me, somewhere down the line, they signed distribution deals, but the industry had to come to them. They didn't go running straight to the independent, but even though I mean to the major labels, but even back then in the golden era, we had independent labels like Pop Art, First Priority, all right, Ruthless, Def Jam. There was a time where Def Jam was independent. I was there in that era. I remember Uptown Records. You feel me? Enjoy. These were Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill Records was the first independent rap label, the very first one. And what did that label bring us? They brought us the Sugar Hill Gang. They brought us Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. They brought a lot of rap legends to the game. Curtis Blow was the first rapper to get a major record deal by way of Mercury Records. The golden era has a lot to say, and it still does. So I wanted to just come briefly on here and tell you that there's nothing wrong with the golden era. Shouts out to LL Cool J for creating Rock the Bells Radio, because now we have a platform where we can hear Grandmaster Caz and MC Shyrock. We can hear the people from that era who have bloomed and blossomed into the legends that they are today. At one time, they were all amateurs. They were all new people in this game. But shouts out to all of them. And I want to tell you all that I love you. And I thank you for shaping and molding my life, being a soundtrack of my life. Pete Rock, that was a time when Pete Rock was just, wow, Pete Rock was on fire in the 90s. A Tribe Called Quest. When they dropped Low End Theory, that changed the game. But when they followed up with Midnight Marauder, the game was changed even more. Shouts out to Chicago's own Common, Twister, The Brat. The golden era, there was so much newness in it. It was just everywhere you looked, it was something new, something exciting. The fashion, the TV shows, the movies, the sports. The 90s was pretty much ran by hip hop. And it spilled over into things like sports. You had Deion Sanders rapping, Shaquille O'Neal rapping. I mean, it was just a thing. It was a great time to be alive, yo. Shouts out to Living Single, In the House, Martin, you know what I'm saying? New York Undercover. Those movies like Juice, New Jack City, Boys in the Hood. Those movies took us further down the hip hop rabbit hole. And I want to say thank you to all the college stations that played hip hop in the wee hours of the night. All the kids who lost sleep trying to stay up to listen to some of this new underground rap music. Shouts out to BET, MTV, The Box. Shouts out to all the platforms. Shouts out to Arsenio Hall. Shouts out to all of you all play a part in building what we consider the golden era of hip hop. In 1993, Run DMC had been in the game officially on wax for 10 years. When they came out with their album Down with the King, all the new kids at that time collabed and got together to show them, hey, we thank you for this. And they featured on their album, they produced on their album. They showed Run DMC a lot of love, man. So again, I'm just wanting to say my piece about the golden era of hip hop. We won't never get any more song from looking at the landscape of rap music now. We can forget about rappers coming together and making a song saying, you know, we need to unite, saying, you know, self-destruction. That era is gone. I mean, that was a time when music was doing it in general. Hip hop just threw its bid in because before that it was Do They Know It's Christmas Time at All? It was not going to play for Sun City. It was We Are the World. So a lot of acts and music would come together and making these big, you know, collaborations of songs for causes. Hip hop just did the same thing. But now everyone's about money. It's about fame. It's about likes, shares, and comments. Whatever they can do on social media to keep themselves relevant. And the game is kind of lost right now. It's still there, but it's just not the same, man. Shouts out to the golden era. I'm your guy, Dollar Bill Skull. Thank you for listening to me. Don't forget to check us out here on the Back and Forth Show, YouTube.com/Back and Forth Show. Don't forget to check us out on Mixcloud.com. That's Mixcloud.com/WBAF radio or just WBAF. And again, I'm out, and thanks for listening to me tell my love for the hip hop golden era. Peace.